Yep.
Did this go to the full screen, or is that still notes for you guys?
It's full screen. Well, no, I'm not sure. It's just like you're still looking at like you're trying to set up your PowerPoint.
Yeah, this has been like one of the things that's been really annoying when I try to do the when I try to record the slideshows with multiple monitors. It's always like trying to do the wrong thing.
What do you use to record?
I've been recording straight into PowerPoint because I like the way that like each little video frame gets embedded with each slide. So if I need to like make a correction to a slide, it's easy to just add a new slide and record something new. Yeah, works okay.
Yeah, like for our lectures for what's it called? GIS. I've been using what's called OBS and just recording the screen. But
yeah, that looks like a good program. I hadn't heard of that one until you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago.
it's worth it. I mean, I used to use it to record Arma gameplay videos, so and it's free, so I can't really complain.
Yeah, our church started using that recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
I downloaded Captura. It's like an open source one, but it hasn't been, like the files are so big that I'm making for some reason, and then I need to shrink it with FFmpeg to fit into the weird My Class portal on Canvas. So it's not the most refined system, if I'm honest.
yeah, OBS is open source too. I mean, it's got a lot of power.
I'll look into that. It just seems intimidating.
Yeah.
All right, are we good now? Full screen?
Yeah, looks good.
Yep.
All right, so it is April 24th, day, what did we decide? 350 of the quarantine?
Yeah, give or take a few.
Give or take. A couple of quick things. I don't have a heck of a lot today. Let's see here. Here we go. One is I built a standing desk, which is fun. Actually, that's behind me. It was a lot of fun, and I got a chance to use Autodesk Fusion 360. That thing is amazing. If you're using SketchUp, I would stop instantly and pick this up. It's fantastic. So easy to do stuff. It's just a little bit of a learning curve to kind of figure out the difference, but it's so powerful, and once you get the hang of it, pretty intuitive. A couple of us, I think, attended this Esri seminar on deep learning. I think the guys that are in the machine learning class will have a lot to say about all of this stuff by the time they're done with their project. But the webinar kind of cut out halfway through. The audio had some issues, so I'm looking forward to seeing that again. I also made some revisions to NeilPi. One was I'm sort of eternally frustrated with the install of the environment to make this go. So I spent some time again refining this. It seems like sort of a never-ending task, because when I have to do this the next time a couple of months later, then something else different is broken. All of these packages just evolve, and there's just too many packages, and so this one works for now, but we'll just try to keep on top of it. The big difference here is all of the packages are now being installed through CondaForge. One of the troubles I was having was, weirdly, GeoPandas was not playing properly with a couple of other things. And it seems like installing everything, even the stuff that doesn't need it, through CondaForge helps to make things play together. So that was weird. My preference had usually been to try to install everything that was installable with regular Conda to do it that way, but I think this is better. Those instructions are on the wiki. I also broke down and wrote, or actually rewrote, an IMRead function for NeilPi. This is really just a wrapper for Rasterio, but I find Rasterio's syntax so annoying that hopefully this is easier. So to read a file in, now it should just be neilpy.imread like it should be for Rasterio, but isn't. It will read in all of the metadata. It's got a couple of other sort of convenience bits in here. By default, it's going to return back the array and a dictionary with the metadata in it. You can ask it not to send you back the metadata, or you can just take it and throw it away if you want. But it seems better. It seems better to at least get it in most cases. I was sort of on the fence about what was better. It will also, like last time we had talked about, like -9999 is almost always encoded as a no data value, but Rasterio doesn't. Even though it knows that that's a no data value, it doesn't fill it in. So I find that annoying. So it will go through and it will replace those with actual nans. You can also easily cast things to a float if you want. So by default, it's going to return things back in the D type that it's encoded in, which is what you want. But you can just force it as a float if you want to with force float. Again, these are just sort of convenience things. These are easy to do in code, but because they're sort of repetitive tasks that we end up having to do all the time, every time we load an image, it just seemed easier to sort of write a little something that was more conducive to our workflow. One weird thing that I decided to do that it's probably not done yet is the cell sizes. So you guys may know that cell sizes can actually vary in the X and Y direction. They don't usually, but they can. I've just got a really kind of stupid check to see if those are different, set to a really tiny tolerance value. If it's under that value, then it just takes the mean of them. And if it's above the value, then it's going to report back both the X and Y cell data or cell size. I don't know. If that's too annoying, we'll change it. Jim and I also spent a little bit of time poking around, continuing to refine the curvature functions. We figured out through some trial and error that the way that Esri handles missing data values is it just substitutes the center pixel value, which was kind of a neat find. There was an easy fix in the code, so that is now in the code from lines 272 to 279 over there on the left. All it basically does is it replaces anywhere there's a missing value in any of the corners or any of the 8 pixels that surround the center pixel. It'll just fill in the middle value. It's kind of, I mean, the code has kind of gotten a little bit bloated, so that's not really the right way to do it anymore, but it works for now. At some point, someone can try to make that tidier. Maybe me. I started, Johanna and I are working on this project where we're trying to look at sort of scale independent metrics of things like roughness and curvature and applying them to some of the work that she had done during her master's. What I wanted to do was clip out little sections. When I downloaded the Lake Tahoe LiDAR data set from Open Topography, it's about 80 gigabytes of compressed LiDAR data in 1,000 separate tiles. I wanted to pull out about 236 different polygons from that. So ordinarily, you can use a little convenience function in LazTools called LazClip, which is super fast. And it works pretty well. It works really well for small cases. So in this example, there's 2 tiles. There's a polygon that goes on separate tiles. And this would be the kind of command that you would use to sort of extract that data. So it's a pretty straightforward little LazTools command. But when you try to do this with a bunch of polygons or with a big multi-polygon on a really big pile of data, it doesn't work. So the approach that seems to work the best is to write the LazClip to do each tile individually. So the big difference here is the merged tag at the end. What you really want to do is stick these things together. You want like just that circle. What you want to do instead on this big data is merge it as a second step. So you do the LazClip command, which generates as many Laz files as pieces intersect. So each tile that has an intersection with your polygon will come back as a tile. And then you want to merge those after the fact. And that intermediate step prevents it from having to generate. I got this error message that said something. First of all, it took forever. And then second, it was trying to generate some LAS file that had well over 1 billion points in it for some reason, even though I don't have that many points in it. So something weird about the code. But if you break it into 2 parts, it works great. Fast.
I had a quick question about that.
Yeah.
So if you're doing something like algorithm development or something like that, could you use LASTool to random sample portions of the LiDAR data set as tiles?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if LAS had that kind of just built into it directly. If it.
Yeah, and you can, well, the random sampling part you'd have to write like where to pull it from, but the pulling could be done pretty easily. And LASClip can pull. It's really easy to write things that will pull based on like bounding boxes, so that you don't even need to like generate a polygon. You can just give it coordinates. I want all the points between this left and this right, and north, south, and elevation, or even filtering by intensity value. Like it can do any of that stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, LASClip can do the polygons.
Good to know.
Yeah, I've been enjoying playing around with PDAL. I think that it's a good program, but the syntax is not as intuitive as LASTools, so it's a little bit more obnoxious to use.
I
It'd be
agree.
interesting to run a performance test too to see how fast they are relative to one another. I also ended up doing a buffer. So there are these 236 or whatever different campsites. This is mostly for Johanna, who's on the call. I ended up grouping these into 2 kind of groups and then putting a minimum bounding geometry around those 2 different clusters. And so we've created LiDAR extractions on these bounding boxes, DTMs from the Tahoe, from the open topography DTM, and some hill shades. So that's all done. All of this was essentially to sort of build up a compressed, smaller data set that's going to be easier to use. So just kind of cleaning the data and paring it down to make development moving forward that much simpler. And then lastly, I got a fun toy. There's a super sale on the FLIR One thermal camera that plugs into your phone. So I bought one, and it's awesome. It's just a little USB-C thing that plugs in on the bottom, and you turn it on, and it works perfectly. And this is my wife and dog, and she just pulled out something cold from the fridge, so that's cold in her hand. It works awesome.
Have you run it through Pix4D yet?
I have not yet. I got to do that. I got to fly it, which is going to be a little intimidating. I guess I don't have to fly it, right? I'll just put it on a stick.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for me. Oh, I gotta stop the share. There we go. Stop share.
I mean, I don't have any slides or anything, but I can just give everybody else an update on finished manuscript development and then sending it out to the committee for review. And then the goal is to defend on May 11th. So all these paperwork and stuff to get done before that, and get suggestions for edits and clarifications from the committee as well. So
yeah, that was a great effort, Hudson. So Hudson put the document together over the last week. It's like 6,500 words now.
yeah, I think so. I haven't checked it, but 65,
Something in the
700.
ballpark. So good production. It turned out pretty smooth, and I'm excited to get it out to committee. Good work.
Oh, yeah.
Can I? Cool. Hudson, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, cool. I just don't want to like step on your toes if you're about to say something. Can I go ahead and I would like to go ahead and present.
Sure.
It would be cool. All right.
I actually get to see somebody else's PowerPoint.
So lab report for this week, and so life update. You know, D-Day -1 for baby. Like due date's tomorrow, and I guess we're looking forward to it. We're just ready for it to come out. We're tired of waiting. So I anticipate being kind of somewhat absent / definitely unproductive next week as I get kind of adjusted to the whole life and stuff. Um, but I'll still be on Slack. I'll have my phone with me, but I'll probably be at weird hours to get responses back. But I will keep you guys updated. Expect a cool picture, be like Tater Tots born with the actual name. So yeah. Worked on curvature analysis with Dr. Bingle this week, and finally got it figured out. Like he said, like that just kind of took the values next to the pixels that were not in numbers, and I guess that makes sense because if the value is the same elevation, then curvature doesn't change. So that's how I understood it, to why it makes sense. But things that aren't matched, things that are matching aren't. That should be matching aren't, rather. So like this one is NeoPi Esri curvature versus the Esri curvature, and then this one down here is the NeoPi profile curvature versus MicroDM's Evans curvature, which they should be the exact same because they're based on the same. They should be based on the same. They should be based on the same paper and the same calculation. So I don't know what that cross means. I don't understand what that means, but I don't know why it's not. Why it's not comparable.
Did the Esri profile and Esri plan curvature come out the same now that we've fixed that?
They did. I double checked that. They look good.
Okay.
So
which one do you need for the sheet paper?
I need the NeoPi profile, and I also need NeoPi tangential. But that's another thing. NeoPi tangential doesn't match up with the. Well, I figured it would be something similar to MicroDM, Sevenbergen and Thorne plan, because that's really their tangential, and it doesn't match up in any way. Like it's like a square of blocks, so I didn't really understand it. So what I'm thinking is I'm probably need to start kind of looking at another paper to start replicating that if it's something doesn't have to deal so much with curvature while we get these curvature values figured out.
I think we just keep hammering away at this because we're pretty close.
Okay. All right.
Let's just focus on the ones that you need though first. So Evans plan and tangential.
No, Evans slope and then tangential.
Evans slope and tangential.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the next step for you is to again find a section, just a little example, and hand work through the equations yourself and see if you can figure it out. So we've got all of the equations. Take a little 3x3 square and do the math yourself. You can write it in Excel like we did it before, which is kind of a handy way of doing it. So then you can plug in different values very easily. That's probably the way that I would do it. Is just write it in Excel.
Okay.
Just it's easy to, or pick through the code in Python if you want, but
yeah. Okay.
Excel's a nice way to explore this stuff because you can kind of lay out the pieces and they propagate through. It's kind of handy.
Okay. I'll do that. I'll try and do something like that this week, maybe next week. Yeah. So machine learning project / deep learning seminar. Tend to try to do the Esri deep learning seminar thing on ArcGIS.learn module. We're gonna be using it for our machine learning project. Like we got the approval, because it's the industry standard. So that's how we phrased it. It may not be, but basically what we're gonna be doing is creating bounding boxes. At least that's how I understand what our project is. It's gonna be creating bounding boxes for fires in California. And pro tip / pro gamer move. If you Google machine learning memes, you will not be disappointed. Plenty of good ones there. So, and then anticipated goals, edit proposal, did some of that this week. I put the finished curvature in this yellow green because we're like halfway there. We're on the home stretch. So we're like, I feel like we're on the home stretch. So yeah, got parts of it done. But I didn't send an email out and I didn't run the hotspot analysis because that's been kind of waiting on the curvature. So, what's the point of doing it if curvature is wrong? So, right. I went ahead and took that off the list next week, so I stopped looking like a failure. And here's my, very, I guess, over what's the right word? Over eager goals. Let's go with that. So here's what I like over anticipated goals of being completed next week is, more proposal editing. That'll probably get done. Hopefully that'll get done. And then I can definitely send an email out, and that will more than likely get done, hopefully. Machine learning project has to get done. Just keep reading key articles is probably not going to happen. But I put in there just in case I get time. So, yeah.
Is the machine learning project that you guys are doing, is that a group project with all three of you, or are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. The three amigos.
Cool.
All right.
Colleen, you can go if you want.
This is Johanna.
Oh, Janet, sorry.
So I just had some trouble with some Pix4D 3D models, and I think I just wanted to throw out what I was having trouble with, and maybe one of you might have some suggestions about how I can improve it. So that's all that I was going to be up to. Does anyone mind if I go next?
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah. All right. Let's share.
By the way, Johanna, if you've got PowerPoints that you end up using, I don't know if you're still on Slack. If you're still on Slack, could you put them there? If not, can you just email me or?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, sorry about that. I totally forgot that. I'm supposed to. Let's see, what screen is this? This is screen.
These machine learning memes are great.
Oops, that's not. Sorry, wrong screen. There we go. All right, so I have been walking a trail, and generally I walk it like this. I just go down, sort of try to err on one side of the trail, and then turn around and walk the other way. With GoPro, it's like a GoPro Hero 7 on the maybe 8-foot stick that is strapped to a backpack on my back. So I've been having trouble with the recreation that it's doing. I've tried several now, maybe 5 out of 6 have come out something like this, where there's several different planes of existence almost.
Is it on a gimbal?
It is not on a gimbal. I do not have a gimbal.
So yeah, that might be the issue, because it's so you have different pictures that are all captured at the different angles as you're walking, right? And so it's matching them up based on that angle of rotation. So
I think the gimbal would help, but I don't think it should be necessary.
Okay, so I'll tell you, so I did email Pix4D support, and this is what they wrote back. They think it has something to do with, down here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, when I'm turning. So there's not enough side overlap between images when I'm turning or going. But I mean, that's kind of weird, because in this particular capture, I did 4 runs. This is supposed to be connected there, there, and there. Yeah, that's supposed to be connected there. And they're looking at the pictures, there's a ton of overlap going, maybe it's just that there's not, I don't know. Can't really tell, but he seems to think that side overlap is the issue, especially when turning around. So
Are the pictures geocoded?
they are geocoded. Yeah, here's a little image of GIF of me walking down the trail. You can see that. And let's see, when it starts at the beginning again, you can kind of see where I turn around. And it doesn't, maybe I just need to, here, maybe I need to make sure that I'm walking slower when I turn around. That's my only.
Yeah, I've definitely had issues when turning around too, and it helps to just do it very slowly. And I've also had issues when I'm with the camera being like up in the trees. I think that kind of confuses
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, so that's what I thought too, because there was a few recreations where as I was going past a tree and there was like a lot of large leaves, it would create that, like all images previous and after the leaf blockage, it would create like two different planes there. And I don't really know what to do about that because, or maybe I could test it at a, like maybe it doesn't need to be as high in the trees. Maybe it can be at like 5 feet instead of 8 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to try. The turning slowly, I think, will make a big difference.
Okay.
Have you gone back in and tried to like hand connect the images?
I did with one, and it didn't turn out great. Like it didn't fix the problems. It created like maybe more of a, instead of different planes, it just seemed to be more of like a clumped mess of points.
Okay. Yeah, I've had similarly bad luck trying to do like a manual fix. Usually if the computer doesn't stitch it together, I can't get it to, even if I put in like manual tie points, it doesn't seem to work. But Jim, you've had a little bit more experience.
Yeah, I was just actually about to say something as we were talking. So problems that I've had when it comes to like manual tie pointing stuff is you have to make sure that you have enough in there, and to get your RMS down, you need to have what's called checkpoints, because checkpoints will sit there and like double check like what your RMS, and if it's a huge RMS, that means that like you can kind of, it'll help you like tell like how bad it's off. But at the same time, you like, so I think the turning slower will help, manual tie pointing things. But also my other question I have for you is are you taking these, are these multiple like runs and you combining them all together?
No, it's a single run of the camera.
Okay. Maybe what you could do is break up the pictures. And so you like turn this into 2 runs, and then so like you have your up and back once, and then you have your up and back twice, like as a second thing. Run them each through the first level of processing, and then combine them and do another, merge the projects together.
Okay.
And then add manual tie points.
Okay. How many manual tie points do you think are necessary?
3, 4.
Oh, okay.
Depending on how big your area is, yeah.
I think there's a chance you might not need any manual tie points if this works. I think this is a good suggestion, because I think it is losing it when you turn. If you run them separately, you're going to get good individual reconstructions. And then because they're geolocated, I think it should stick them together. It is weird that it doesn't stick them together anyway. But I think it's a bit of a tension between the trying to match the GPS and trying to match sort of what is coming up of its programming.
Like
so sorry to reiterate, Jim. So run each side of like going one direction, stop the camera, go the other direction, stop the camera.
You don't even need to stop the camera; just run them in separate batches.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, I would go up and back as one project, and then up and back as a second project. So you still have that kind of side overlap that you need.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you. I don't know if this might be a separate problem or the same. So one did recreate correctly, except it was oriented just like real weird. So this is the top view, but that's the actual top view. So when I try to recreate, a digital elevation model, it's kind of messed up. So I don't know how I can.
Have you looked at have you looked at the geotags yourself?
No, I haven't.
It's weird. It's weird that it's doing that. Like that really shouldn't happen if you're getting a good GPS signal.
Okay.
I've never seen that happen when they're geotagged correctly. And if they're not being geotagged correctly, that would also explain why the reconstruction isn't working out as well.
Yeah. Like maybe the GPS on the GoPro just isn't that, or is kind of terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, I would just start by looking through the properties on a handful of these and just sort of see what, just take a look at the EXIF data and just see what it says
Okay.
there. When you load the project into Pix4D, you'll also see they will report the latitude and longitude values. You can look at them there as well. But for instance, like the DJI was not tagging things correctly. Like the geotags were wrong on a lot of the DJI images in really strange ways. So the altitudes were wrong, but then when I was rerunning them around that tree at the middle school, it was off by like several kilometers, and it was hard to like even figure out like how that could happen. So
All right.
weird stuff can happen.
Yeah. If the geotag is wrong, like what, or how did you end up fixing that?
Well, I think a good thing to do would be to have a secondary GPS capture. Like if you've got your phone with you, lay down a GPS trail as you're going, because then you can always use that information to regenerate it. But if the geotags are busted, there's really not a lot you can do to fix it.
Okay.
Other than sort of post-processing from a separate GPS log, which is probably good. I mean, it's just an easy backup. Everybody's got a GPS on their phone these days. So.
All right, cool. I will try some of those things. Thank you.
Sure. Who's next?
I'll go, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. So these are some baby broccoli plants in my little garden. Everything's sprouting now that it's springtime.
What are they growing in?
It's out on my porch. Maybe next week I'll post some updates and pictures of the whole thing. It's a hydroponic garden. So it's just in like big plastic tubs with holes cut in the lids for where the actual plants go. Yeah, it's my first time gardening in not soil, so we'll see how it goes. So proposal, did a little work on that, kind of just updating it, polishing it. I mean, most of the text is there. ROS troubleshooting, I ran into some issues that were kind of annoying roadblocks that I just kind of had to wait to get past. Then finished up some machine learning homework, and then also working and planning on our final project. I didn't end up getting HDL grouse timer cartographer going because of the aforementioned ROS roadblocks. It did not organize my committee meeting as well. So anyways, ROS, at one point, you need to download some data from a GitHub website, but that was down earlier this week. It went back up when I tried it again yesterday afternoon. But I ran into some of the same problems with the log directory that I was having when I was trying to do it on WSL, but this is on a fresh WSL and an Ubuntu VM. And I think I could fix that, but I need to look into it more. And I don't know why it's happening, because I did all the same steps as what I did before, and it worked before. So yeah, not really sure. But anyways, the ROS2 is now out and the new Ubuntu. So I kind of want to try those both out as well. So for our ML project, I'm starting with our lit review section, because the final project format is basically like a normal paper with like a introduction, methods, results, conclusion, and stuff like that. So basically our plan of attack is using the ArcGIS Learn. I was kind of late to that webinar because I had class, but it was kind of funny. It was kind of, they were just talking about how great their deep learning tools were. But those.
It's a religion. Esri's a religion.
Yeah. They're kind of like, yeah, it's so great that we did this in Python because everyone uses Python, and yeah, they must have said that like at least 5 times. But looking at those Python notebooks that Hudson shared last week are really nice to kind of get started with and like get some ideas and stuff. I know Sam and I have been kind of reading through those, and some of them are like kind of exactly what we want to do. So that's cool. I've been playing with Autodesk Fusion 360. Seems nice. Like a lot more capable than SketchUp, but also there's a lot more to it, so it's more complicated. I guess it's free to us. I don't know if it's free to everyone, but I've been doing the tutorial for the GeoViz notes this week, and it seems nice. It reminds me, I guess it was 10 years ago, I took a class in high school where we used some Autodesk CAD. I think it was called Inventor. I don't know if they still make that, but it is kind of funny how similar things look to it. Just being, it's a decade apart, but still being Autodesk stuff. So goals for next week, I want to get HDL, Grasslam, and Cartographer up and at least install ROS2 and Ubuntu 20.04. And then kind of focus on the machine learning project that's kind of going to be full gas until I think May 4th is the due date. So yeah, that's everything for this week.
Cool. So are you guys doing like object detection for machine learning or like?
Yes, so we're using, it's the multispectral Landsat imagery to detect wildfires. And we need to come up with kind of an exact plan of how we're going to do it, because there's a few ways that we could do it, whether that's
use a burn index kind of thing, and then just replicate that over.
Well, we're probably gonna. What Sam and I were talking about is, so we have like 14 bands or something from Landsat. We might also add the burn indexes as bands to that, and then we're going to use a convolutional neural network. So that'll just give it another band, another channel to run that on, and hopefully it'll just kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys are doing like active fires, because I think I saw some pipeline or platform or project that does machine learning of like active fires in the actual global sphere. If I run across it again, I can send it to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it won't be active fires. It'll be just areas that have been burned.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to detect fires on the fly, but I feel like that'd be kind of
and then you have
difficult.
to like kind of roll the dice for like which satellite's going to be
overhead
that area while it's actually burning.
Yeah.
So it's super. I guess like some of the really big fires that burn for like a month or longer, you could do, but like smaller fires, you're not going to catch. So that's all I've got.
I can go. Give me a second.
But I'm glad I got to see 3 people's projects or presentations.
That's all right.
Cool. See ya.
See you
One more
later.
thing, I got a new toy I want to play with, some photogrammetry on a stick. I got a new lens that is very wide aperture. I don't know if you can see my eye through there, but we'll see how that goes. There you go.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's all.
Cool. All right. See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.
Dr. Pingle, I'll probably message you, or I'll send you the draft email, and I guess we can figure out from there.
Okay, sounds great.
All right. See you guys.
Toodles.
See ya. Everyone can see everything, right? Cool.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, it's like day 70 or something of the quarantine. It's getting to me a little bit. This week I was kind of bouncing around. I did some stuff with the hotspot stuff, or finished, kind of tied that off a little bit with the damage. There's still some more things I think we need to explore. Set up an introduction meeting, played with some Sentinel-2 stuff, and then a ton of machine learning stuff this week. Yeah, so last week, I should have posted in here, but there was a tornado that went through Mississippi on the 19th, and Peter and one of Dr. Pingle's old PhD students, like they took Landsat imagery and just took the Sentinel-2 imagery and did the NDVI difference, and found, like, you could see like the scar. I should just pull up the image. From me and Dr. Pingle's chat. But yeah, it's pretty cool. So what I did was I was kind of working a little bit this weekend to like replicate that, and then try it out on the kind of study area that we have. Yeah, right here. There you go. So that's Dr. Pingle's old PhD student. So you can see like here's like the damage on the top left, and then here's like the scars from the NDVI difference, which is pretty cool. And this was a gigantic tornado. I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, he doesn't mention it, how big it was, but probably like an EF4.
Actually, did you see Peter's original one, Sam?
Yeah, I think he sent it. I was going to try and find that real quick. I forgot to put that in there.
I've got it here.
Yeah.
See.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. You guys see that one?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is Peter's map. He posted it on Twitter, and then I don't know if you know somebody, but it was in the Washington Post. It's a really nice map. He's got it labeled, EF3 and EF4. Good little zoom in on it.
Yeah, so we tested out. Dr. Pingle showed me like a little code that he wrote in or hacked together in Google Explorer. So I took his, there we go, and put it, so I ran it over our study area. And what I did was I just grabbed Copernicus, which is the Sentinel-2 sat data. And it's kind of cool. You can filter like what kind of data you want. So you just ask it between these two dates. I want cloudy pixel percentage less than 50%. And then filter bounds, I had it set to the bounding box I drew around our tornado. Then I kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And then like Dr. Pingle's code, I took and plot the NDVI. So this is what kind of got spat out. So this is pre and post, or the difference between the post and pre NDVI imagery. So that line right there is just a polygon. I had to like convert it to GeoJSON and then like paste in the text into it to get it to plot. I think it gives a good reference.
I wondered how that was done.
Yeah, I know.
Have you guys all seen how many people have used the Google Earth Engine to do image processing before?
I did. What did I do? I think I tried to use it once for finding like floodable areas, but it was very limited.
It's one of the nice things about it is that it doesn't really take too much code, and there are a lot of code examples. Instead of downloading imagery and sort of running it through, like you can really quickly kind of cut and paste and modify code in under an hour and start getting some really good stuff. And then it's extensible. If there's another tornado that we want to look at, we just have to sort of change the bounding box and all the code is ready to go. So
yeah.
And I didn't know, this is really handy, Sam. I didn't know that you could do the, I knew that you could do it, but I hadn't seen the like the cloud filters. So that's cool to see in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a little weird. So you filter like how you want, like if you want everything below a certain amount. I actually found that setting it, just getting all the data between those two dates and then sorting it from, I have a function right here that sorts it by time. But you could sort it by like cloud cover and get like the least, in this time range, what's the image with the least amount of cloud cover, and then put that in there.
Cool.
So yeah. it works pretty nice. And I think it's the same function, cloud pixel percentage. Like the properties are standardized among like Landsat, so you could probably swap out a different sensor or satellite pretty quickly. And then, yeah, so I feel like you could, so right here was kind of interesting. That might be, I don't know if it's just me staring at the polygon, but if you kind of look right there, you could see like the tornado path and then maybe some NDVI damage or vegetation damage. But I don't
I
know.
was trying to look up, Sam. I meant to send you this. That's your screen. I was trying to find the location that it got hit pretty hard. In the first data that I collected, there's a lot of video.
Yeah.
But a good, let's see, it was by Rocky Mount. Let's see, Franklin County Parks and Recreation. That's the spot. Lark Field is kind of an area. It's LARC. The area to the east of that, there's kind of like, it looks super industrial. I don't know what it is, like some kind of like quarry or garbage dump, or I don't know what's there, but the stuff kind of to the southeast got hit really hard. Yeah, right at the end of that road, basically. So if you follow that little spur road thing from Lark Road down, that little like U-shaped road, a little further to the right. Down,
right here.
Follow that down, follow that road south. And right around there was just a ton of damage, like all through that section.
Interesting. Because I did notice something. So if we satellite, yeah, this is Lark right here.
Yeah.
If we turn on difference, yeah, interesting.
So it's interesting that it's not really showing up very strongly. It was pretty substantial. If you go back and look at the video that I collected from that day, you'll see it. There's
yeah, maybe it was a little bit farther south because there's like a spike all along that kind of road. It looks like. See how it's all forested.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess you can kind of pick it up.
Yeah. All right, I'll have to look into it more. Maybe I could like crop it, do like a buffer crop it and see what comes out. But yeah, this is kind of a cool tool. It's like, it's pretty nice, but it's hard to pull things from it. So the only function I could find was export to drive. And it asks you how many pixels you want. So I put in like 1 million because I want as much as I can get, and it failed. So I don't really know what. I think this is where they start getting into the paid version of this stuff, but it's a cool tool. Then I've been doing a ton of machine learning stuff this week. Like Dr. Pickle mentioned, we did the ArcGIS deep learn stuff, like 20 minutes into it after they did their 15 minutes of selling. Like the audio is cutting out, and they had some interesting plots. Like I snagged this, like the different types of like deep learning and GIS, which I thought was kind of like a good representation. But yeah, to cut out, and I supposedly gonna send a video, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I think me and Jack, we were talking in gym too about like, would maybe doing type of like image segmentation type thing, or I was thinking pixel classification or damage house, like this kind of example image classification. I don't know. We'll have to think a little bit more on it and kind of get to our methods together, but that's what I'll be kind of working on next week. And then thanks to Hudson, who's not here, but he sent us like this, all the ArcGIS Pro notebooks on ArcGIS Learn. It looks like it's running on someone's server, so I didn't want to like run any code to like mess it up. But I was like scrolling through it, and there's some pretty good examples. It seems like super case specific. Like it's not as turnkey as they give it to be, but I think we might use it for at least maybe like a lot of the tools that they do offer, like data preparation, training setup. We might use those, but I think definitely like running them, like building the model and then like doing the verification will be in Arc. We'll have to see, but maybe I think a mixture of both will be the happy medium.
I like the table of contents. I'm gonna have to start putting those in my notebooks.
Yeah. And then after this week, I feel a little
I would
like we're
also
worshiping Esri and Microsoft.
sorry. It is, I mean, they were kind of like gushing a little bit, but from somebody who's kind of watched the evolution of this over the past few years, it is amazing how quickly this has come out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So the first person that I knew to start working with deep learning stuff was Alex Haberly. He was a PhD student at NIU. Now he's teaching at Louisiana State. And the amount of like crap that he had to go through to get this stuff running was just enormous.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is like 3 years later, and all the stuff is embedded. They really have done a good job of getting this stuff integrated much more quickly than I would have expected. It's kind of weird how different parts of Esri work really well, you know, like
Yeah.
this stuff seems to be moving ahead really quickly. But I think I've said last time, like you still can't, you know, you try to export a data set or you try to load a GeoJSON and that still doesn't work. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Or my favorite, we've been doing in Bill's class, like working with like the Python terminal within Arc. And I set up like Spider and all that stuff, but it wouldn't let me install it. And it took me a while to figure out that you need to clone the repository, like the Arc GIS repository.
Yeah.
Or not the repository, pardon me, the environment, clone it, and then you can install things to it, which is a little frustrating. And I think it's just slower than normal Anaconda. But I mean, it's nifty. So you have to give them credit where credit's due. Yeah, and then one of the things we found that Ping wanted me to read was this kind of like overview report of the GeoAI conference. So did a little Googling, GeoAI workshop, which is a part of the SIG Spatial Conference. So these authors, the lead one being Gao, I forget his first name, but he's a professor out of Madison, Wisconsin, Department of Geography. And they got together this GeoAI group. It seems like it's being run out of Oak Ridge National Lab, which is a DOE laboratory in Tennessee, I want to say. And they, it's like this kind of, I guess, group where they're trying to get together scientists and researchers who and business people who are working on AI applications of geospatial information, which seems pretty cool. The conference or the workshop that ran last year, which I don't know if they're going to run this year, but they focused on trends and successes and challenges of opportunities for artificial intelligence right there. But a lot of the research that they presented was like sign detection, like driving related problems, which was interesting. And then there was like one paper on automated digitization of like historical maps and then like flood detection. It seemed pretty cool. But the workshop was a part of the SIG Spatial Conference, which I want to ask you about, Dr. Pingle. It seems kind of small, and like reading the description of the special interest group, they mentioned that they're trying to encourage fundamental research of spatial information, including standardization of activities and terminology, methodology. That just kind of came off as like GIS or geography, but they don't say it outright. So I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm not really that involved with SIG Spatial. My impression is that they've been, I don't know how to put it, like they've been a little bit more interested in the theory than the practice,
Okay.
and that's been a little bit more of a turnoff for me. Yeah. So, but I don't think maybe that's changing. Maybe that's different now.
Yeah, they said they were around since 1993, so seems kind of interesting. It's the first I've ever heard of them, but it was interesting to read about. And then I haven't done my census yet, so I did it this week. But they had this cool map on their website of how many people are answering the census, and our county's at like 50%. But I think like the max I saw was clicking around in like Illinois and Virginia. Like overall at the end of the census is like 70% seems like the average response rate. And I heard somewhere that they're expecting a lower turnout, like 60 or 50% overall across the country, which isn't great. But it was just kind of a cool map, and you could select and you can query like they had a feature where you could grab Montgomery, like Fairfax in a different county, and group them, like put them next to each other and see the difference between the two or the three or however many you grab. It was a little slow, but I think it was kind of a cool map.
Yeah.
You know how accurate that is?
It
Because
was-
I did my census like a while ago, like months ago, but I still get mail
Really?
telling me to do it.
I don't know. So I think this was like super accurate up to like, so I did mine like the 21st or the 20th, and this is data from the 19th.
Yeah.
And then you could actually watch like a time series of how like it trends upwards as people are answering it. And there's like a little jump on April 1st when they said to answer it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the way they're distributing it, like whatever database is talking to another database, because they have to print it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
not-
Because some people are doing it by mail
Yeah.
or like in person, not online.
Yeah. And then Ubuntu 20.04 came out yesterday. I downloaded it. It's just normal Ubuntu, but it looks cool. So it looks good. The one problem I did have, which maybe me and Jack should look into it whenever we have free time, but VirtualBox, I wasn't able to install the guest editions CD. Like I was able to, but it wasn't working. So like it's only that default resolution. You can't expand it to full screen. So I don't know. But yeah, it seems cool. This is like the new standard, like what you should build off of.
What is the name of it again?
Something focal. I sent it yesterday. Focal Fossa.
Ah, okay.
Which I have no idea. I like the last version, Disco Dingo. That was pretty cool. That's my favorite. And then I was like scrolling around on Google Play Store. I saw that they finally have a GitHub app. So now we can like clone repositories or make issues from our phones. But yeah, something cool I noticed. For next week, one of the goals I missed this week was working on the proposal. Machine learning just ate up all the time. So I want to focus more on it. I think these might be a little bit ambitious, but I forgot to put machine learning at the top. But yeah, it's going to be kind of round the clock, tying up the semester, and then hopefully have a meeting soon with the committee. I just have to wait for Shao to respond. But yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. All right. Colleen, quick update from you. I know you don't have a presentation, but you want to just tell everybody what you've been working on lately?
Yeah, I got my computer back yesterday, so that's exciting. But I've mostly been working on classwork this week, and also just like trying to work on my proposal some and finish answering the questions a little bit.
Sounds good. All right, well, thanks everybody. Glad to see everybody again. Jim, good luck with everything this weekend.
Thanks.
That's you, Jim.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Take care. Bye.
See ya.
See ya.